A Republican meeting tonight and asked for advice. And Tom Price, Congressman Tom Price's advice to these young gentlemen was to every opportunity they had to speak to someone, to speak to them. So I'm going to ask them, after they lead us in the pledge, to say something, to speak to an audience, because that's what Congressman Price advised these young men, and they want to be, I don't know if we want to say politicians, but they want to become involved in elected office. I don't want to libel them yet. So, gentlemen, if you would come forward and lead us in the pledge, if we'd all stand and face the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. And gentlemen, if you would one at a time approach the microphone and tell the council what you hope to learn over the next few months in this internship. And we'll start with Lalit because he's the old pro. He's been here about 3 weeks.
Hi, my name is Lalit Janik, and I'm from Alpharetta High School. I'm a senior there this year. And my ultimate goal is to go into politics. And I think that this internship under Mayor Wood has in the past month taught me a lot about what to expect in campaigning for an election and in politics in general. And I think that in the next upcoming months, this will be a very educational and informative experience, and I hope to learn a lot from a truly honest man and a good man running for mayor. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Kim. This is my first day today, and you know,
You'll learn. I just throw them in. You know.
Yeah, I got to see so much. You know, just following Mayor Jerry Wood, and I'm into law and politics, and by interning here, I hope to get a taste of what it's like to be a politician.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where do you go to school?
I go to Alpharetta with Lily.
My name is Brandon Adams. I'm a senior at Centennial High School. Lived in Roswell. My grandparents lived in Roswell since the 70s. But I guess you can. If this is my first day as well. And my first day, I met the Tom Price. He's one of the most well-known figures in our country. So if that's any indication of how this is going to go, I believe this is going to be invaluable to me. I want to go to UGA for law, and then eventually become a politician. So I believe this is the perfect opportunity for me. And
thank you. Let's have a hand for these young men. Thank you. All right, this is your meeting. What we would like you to do, if you'd like to speak, raise your hand. We would like you to fill in. We do keep a record of comments tonight, so if you could fill in a speaker card before you leave. But if you could introduce yourself and give us your name and address when you come forward. Who would like to speak? We will have a short meeting. My interns will be happy to get back and do their coursework. We have Sam Evans coming forward. He would don't be bashful, Sam. You've never been bashful in the past. Sam, if you'll give us your name and address for the record.
Is this on?
Yes, sir. I think it's on.
Sam Evans, 150 Chafin Road, Roswell, Georgia. Mr. Mayor, Ms. Love, members of the council, ladies and gentlemen of the city, I want to thank y'all for voting for the requirement of all members of the committees taking an oath that they will support the state of Georgia and the Constitution and the city of Roswell. Now, I brought this subject up at the last people's meeting, and glory be to the Father, it's now law. I have never seen the city of Roswell work this fast in all my life. I thank the 5 members of the council who voted for it, Ms. Love, who brought it to a head, Mr. Mayor, who spearheaded it. Now, one thing that I noticed as I was going through the names on the 13 committees was the scarcity of African Americans on these 13 committees. And my thoughts go back, why? And I'm thinking how the voting is set up in the city of Rossville. It's citywide. The mayor is citywide, and each member of council is citywide. And it's such that 6 of you, the possibility exists that 6 of you could live on the same street side by side. Several years ago, we had 2 members on the city council that lived on the same street. And what's happening now is, because we do not have district zoning, the African American community has been diluted in representation. And I hope that somebody who's running for election this time might make this one of their campaign promises. I hope the newspapers get behind it. I hope the African American community gets behind it and demand that they be represented on this city council. Now, when I first, 18 years ago when I started here, there were 6 members of council. Now the city limits. Now the population of the city of Rossville is doubled. So instead of representing 50,000 people divided by 6, y'all now are representing 100,000 people divided by 6. And hopefully someday, that's just too many people for y'all to represent. Hopefully someday that y'all will enlarge this city council. Maybe 2 members at large, 6 members by district. Divide this city up into districts. Especially when that happens, the African American community is going to be represented. Now, they're not represented because their vote is diluted by the rest of us. And that, I told you that I was no longer on a crusade. This is not a crusade. I'm just planting a seed for y'all to consider, and the newspapers to consider, the citizens to consider, and the African American community to consider. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam Evans. I wanted to assure you that we moved just as quickly to adopt the Pledge of Allegiance when you brought that to our attention. So we have moved this fast in the past. I am proud of Roswell's diversity. I'm proud of the representation we have on all of our boards. I'm proud that when James Smith ran, an African American from Martin's Landing, he was elected many years ago as an African American to this city council. Sam, I don't want to tell you what the solution is to getting more diversity on this council, but I can tell you from a standpoint of creating districts, I don't think would solve the problem, because I think our African American community is dispersed throughout the city of Roswell. It's not. We don't have large African American neighborhoods. We've got a lot of African Americans in our community, but we don't have segregated neighborhoods other than I'd say there was a couple of small communities, but it's very small proportion out of that 100,000. So I don't think districts would solve your problem. It may be a solution for something else. I think the system works pretty well right now. I support folks running at large. But if you're saying we should convert to get more diversity on this council, I think if you'll look at the makeup of Roswell's districts, it's not going to make any real change if we go to districts. It's not going to address the problem which you raised. Not saying there aren't other reasons to go to districts. There are reasons on both sides. But I believe this, I think it's a good thing that folks have to represent all the city at large, because we don't get polarization within the community. Any other council members want to add anything to that? Thank you. Any other comments from the floor? I encourage you to come forward. We're interested to hear from you. Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
John Bridges, Riverside Road. I thought this was going to be a transportation meeting. I might have got my date wrong. But
but real quick, when's our transportation? It's tomorrow night?
Tomorrow.
What time here? At 6 o'clock? Please come back, but you're welcome to talk tonight about transportation. We're always glad to hear from you.
Yeah,
John.
it's the road right-of-ways are being promoted and developed as an extension of the parks. And I can just tell you from where I live on Riverside Road, it's after speaking with all the residents on there, and they all signed a petition. They didn't want this to become a crowded park-like area, and they're really not happy with the bicycle traffic. What happened at Columns Drive is they sort of want more and more access, and they keep coming, and they're riding. They don't stay in the bicycle lane. They'll ride 3 and 4 abreast, and it's just getting where the cars are going over the yellow line now, and you're getting this. The continuity is starting to change, and I just wanted you to be aware of that after you develop roadways for multi-use pedestrian, bicycle, and car traffic, it becomes a little bit of a chaotic situation. I'd hope you try to understand that and maybe curtail some of your developing the road right-of-ways as parks. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Does anyone else wish to speak tonight? Going once? Yes, sir. Come forward.
Hi, I'm Tim Michaels, and I'm a member of Roswell Youth Baseball Board, and I live at 540 Rosewater Drive in Roswell. And my comments or question is directed to, I believe there's a council member appointed as liaison to Parks and Recreation.
Yes, sir.
And my question is directed to that person in specific, maybe to the entire board and mayor in general. I was wondering if we could get some visibility into the funding of Fund 555, which is the Recreation Participation Special Funds. Speaking with some of the folks that have children in the rec department, I think there's some concern as to percentage of the fund going towards Comp and Benny versus towards the fund itself. And
what was the percent of the fund going toward what?
Comp and Benny, comp and benefits for employees.
The compensation of those 4 employees,
Correct.
rather than toward the program.
Correct. Yeah, this fund is 100%, as I understand it, funded by the special program fees paid by the parents for the children, and about 40%, don't hold me to the exact number, is going towards compensation benefits versus the program.
We have a representative of Parks and Rec. I'll allow Councilman Orleans to respond.
And my second part is.
Go ahead.
And what can we do to take a look at perhaps reducing the amount of money that goes towards that compensation and benefits and back into the program for field equipment, the kids programs and senior programs?
Let's first hear from Morgan Rogers, because I think it's a technical question, and I'll allow Councilman. Councilmember Henry?
I just wanted to say, Mr. Michaels, I had passed along your questions and concerns to Joe Glover, the Director of Recreation and Parks. I got an email from Morgan late this afternoon saying that it had been passed along to him. I know he was prepared to respond to you tomorrow with that, but I'm not sure if he's prepared to answer some of those questions this evening. But I did want to let you know that.
We spoke to him. I've never met him, so if I
Great.
knew what he looked like, I'd introduce myself. And we have an appointment Friday morning to talk more in detail, but I thought from a liaison perspective to the Parks and Recreation, I'd like to hear that feedback.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to hear that feedback too, but I also want to hear what the response of Parks and Rec is, because this is not my understanding of the way things work.
The Recreation Participation Fund does not fund any full-time employees or benefits for employees. It does fund, through the Recreation Participation Fund, part-time employees that are directly supervising or related to the programs, but there's no employee compensation coming out of that other than part-time employees like evening supervisors for the folks that are directly supervising the programs that fund the Recreation Participation Fund. I don't know if that answers your question or
Give me an example
not.
of who is funded from the rec participation program.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Example of who would be funded from the rec program.
The evening supervisors are part-time, either high school or college
What does an evening supervisor do?
He would turn on the lights. He would make sure that the fields were lined off properly. If there were a problem with the bathrooms or something like that, he would solve that problem. But there are all of our fields and all of our parks have evening supervisors that are paid for, part-time supervisors that are paid for out of that fund. The full-time employees are not paid out of that fund currently.
Councilman Orleans, did you want to add to that?
I just say that employees is a good part of that, and we've actually subsidized it from the city in some degree in the past. And it's one of the things we've been looking at recently is that even some of the costs that we're subsidizing, because it should be taking care of its own cost, as you're asking about. So we're looking into the whole issue. But a big part of the cost is just staffing for it.
Yeah, I think, again, my data sample is pretty small. I haven't spent much time on this but a couple of weeks, but we're talking somewhere in the neighborhood about $1.7 million out of a budget of 3.8 million is going to paying for employees. As Morgan pointed out, part-time, temporary, seasonal. It's a lot of money for a program that's self-funded out of fees. And I think we'd like some visibility. We have an appointment. Again, I didn't know Morgan was going to be here, but I think the parents that pay into the program deserve a little bit more visibility into the compensation that's going to run this program. We're I think, mystified that there's a little bit, 40% of the money going to pay for people versus the program.
That 40% is, so what he's talking about is that for a program, there's a registration fee. Okay, of that fee, there are direct costs that are paid out of that, such as umpires, uniforms, and those kind of things. And then there is an administrative fee that is attached to each and every program that we register for that pays for things like our part-time employees and other supplies. And I mean, we've got a full accounting of how we spend that administrative fee that's attached to every program, not just baseball, but every program that anybody registers for. There's an administrative fee that helps to fund things for our registration. Like our registration system that we just bought was funded through the Registration Participation Fund, because the registration system has nothing to do with anything but the programs that are registering for. So all of that money goes to a fund, and then we pay direct program cost out of that fund. So all the fund money that is being used is in fact being spent on the programs. It's just not directly on a specific program.
Mr. Michaels, this is our understanding from this council, is that the programs, part of the cost of the program is paid for by the participants. Another part is paid for by the general fund, comes from taxpayers. But our experience has been, and I can't tell you specific program by program, but if you look at the programs in general, they are all subsidized by the taxpayer. We think it's a good investment in the community. We believe in subsidizing it, but I'm not aware of any program which the city is making any money on. Actually, the reverse is true. We are helping to pay for all these programs, so we'll have great programs for our youth.
Triple Nickel Fund doesn't have money coming out of the general fund. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I think there's a correction on your part. Is the Fund 555 doesn't have any money coming out of the general fund. It's all funded by special program fees. So it's separate pot of money. The general fund is about 10.2 million out of the 16 million going to the Parks and Recreation. My point was the 40% going to the compensation and benefits for the part-time, temp, and seasonal employees seems pretty large for a $3.8 million budget. My request was, can we get some visibility in what those positions are?
When visibility, you're talking about transparency, so
Correct.
You can see.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then we also would like to take a look at some options to see what we can do to get more money back into the program versus into what these positions are. Obviously, one's going to precede the other. But.
Well, I think that's what Morgan's going to go into detail with you at the meeting that we set up earlier today. Right.
Any other questions?
But I'd like to add that those positions are directly related to the program. If we don't have those field supervisors and the things that are being paid out of that administrative fee, the program's not as good. So the lights don't get turned on, and the bathrooms aren't checked on a regular basis. And I think the point the mayor was making is that the lining of the fields and the maintaining of the fields is not paid out of that recreation participation fund. It's paid out of the general fund, paid by the taxpayers of Roswell.
And we'll get all those numbers for you. And any questions you've got, I'm sure Morgan will handle it.
Yeah, we'll meet Friday, and I'm sure we'll get some of these questions answered.
Anything else, Councilman Orleans? Thank you. Any other questions, comments from the floor? Going once? Going twice? We're adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight.